to Nene's Garage. This is going to be the first episode of building a 1989 Honda Civic all-wheel drive with a turbo. It's going to be an exciting journey and you're going to see it start to finish. Okay, so you're pretty much going to live in my garage on this channel, but I guess you should get a tour. We've got kind of the work desk, which has a few projects on it right now. A little messy. The mini board here. We've got the tool case with most of the stuff. Little fridge. Get the workstation. Too many two-wheel things. The big board for this project, which we're gonna start up here with probably pulling axles, draining fluids, pulling the exhaust, pulling the hood, and maybe pulling the motor in this episode. We got the bike storage. This is the 5-speed CRV transmission that's going in. This is an RSX S type clutch. That's a stage 3. So it should be able to handle like 400 horsepower launches. We've got the rear diff from a CRV, and that is going to need the Land Rover coupler in it, I think. We'll touch back on that later. We've got the TSX motor, a shift box from an RSX base, that's a 5-speed. And we've got the car on the lift right now. It's just a mini lift, but it can do about 4 feet, which is helpful for this garage. And we can move it around, which is nice. And just all the storage. Hey. Okay, so here's the car. Boom. And let's open the hood so you can see the original motor.
Oh my god.
So original. And it runs and drives right now. It just has a pretty bad clutch, so I think we're gonna get this motor out of here and we'll get started. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is the problem from the previous owner here. You can kind of see this weird side-out exhaust thing they got going. So we're gonna cut that off and get rid of the exhaust, and then we'll start getting ready to pull the motor.
Add a few years. You never know, bro. Climb bro might be tuning in. Got a lot of places to divert attention to. Oh, I should probably get new gloves. I don't know, maybe it'll dry out my skin for my climbing experiments. Wait, what's PDR? How you gonna do that? Why you get on your side quest? Who's Lorenzo? Hey, but who is Lorenzo? I'm working on it. My hands are too big. See about my hands. Get some Vaseline in there. Alright. There it goes. Oh shit. I just had it in my hand. Oh, it's right here. up. Now try it. Ah. Hold up. Yeah, I don't have the grip strength. With pliers, I do. Yeah. Oh, I see. Oh. Yeah. No, I think we do. There you go. Do I gotta hold this metal bar? Alright. Yep, we got it, yo. Mission accomplished. Oh. Mission accomplished.
Everything as much as we can. That's stupid. We've got to basically level as much as we can so that if we need to access anything from the wire harness, once the motor's out, we kind of have an idea of what connectors are doing what. So right now I'm gonna try and like time lapse labeling everything so that when we either pull this harness or we go to adapt the RSX harness, we have some idea of what's going to where and what controls what, and if there's any way to tie in the old harness to the new harness. So I had a bunch of microphone issues here, so basically I'm just going to voice this over. Getting ready to drain the coolant since I'd forgotten to do that. And Honda has a pretty cool little drain port where you can open the valve just part way and it drains through
like a weep hole in the bottom of the radiator. Super nice, doesn't get anywhere. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just gonna let this drain out and fast forward. Again, we're just going to do a voiceover because we don't have audio recording. Don't worry, I'm going to sort this out in the next video. But what we have to do is remove the wheel so that we can remove the axle, so that we can basically get both side axles out of the way to remove the engine. So you can kind of see the rest of the coolant's just draining out here. What I'm going to be doing is pulling the wheel off with this sweet little Hercules torque gun, and I tried to get the axle nut off on this side with the little Hercules gun, and it almost did it, but not quite. So I had to finish it off with the air gun. So just pulling the wheel off, I'm realizing right here that one of the studs was stripped, and that's why there's only 3 lug nuts on it. So that's cool. We'll deal with that later. But we'll pull these cute little 13-inch wheels off. And the plan kind of all along is to keep these OEM wheels. We'll go with some gummy tires, but I want this to really have that stock appearance from the outside. So this was probably done at some point because these nuts weren't detented. Normally they like peen them from factory. They peen them in right where I was pointing so that they kind of can't rotate backwards or to the left and loosen themselves. But these were never peened, so at some point the axles were probably replaced on this car. So anyways, I'm going to try it with this little Hercules gun here and not get it. And decide that we need the impact gun, the air impact. So I'm gonna go get shop air here. For those that don't have shop air, I don't have anything crazy. I just have a small 5-gallon compressor, and it runs about 140 psi max, super quiet, really nice. I don't use it that often. So it's nice to just keep it up on the shelf, and you know, when it kicks on you can still have a conversation, which is pretty cool. So anyways, we'll just pull this off, boom boom, and good. Just wanted to throw a quick note in here too. I'm kind of noting here in the video, but it has double wishbone suspension, which for a really old car is like kind of cool. It's like it's not the McPherson style strut steering assembly that most modern cars use. So yeah, kind of just cool point to point that out. So again, here we're just going to pull the castle nut pin that holds the upper control arm to the knuckle. So pull that out, and then we're going to pull the castle nut off, and then we're going to separate the upper control arm from the knuckle. So we're just gonna zip the castle nut off real quick, and then we're gonna use a pickle fork to separate the ball joint from the knuckle. I did look it up, and people used to eat pickles with little two-pronged forks. So, if you're wondering, that's where it came from. Now, if you've never used one of these, you basically take that two-pronged fork that's in my hand, and you wedge that between the bottom of the ball joint boot and the top of the knuckle, and then you just slowly slam it in with a hammer. So you just keep going, keep going, keep going, and it'll just wedge it apart like that. Since the audio is still messed up, I'll just kind of explain what I'm doing here. I'm just going to show you start to finish of removing the driver's side axle, since I didn't get all of the passenger side on film. So we're just going to start with taking the wheel off. I learned a few quick lessons getting the axle out specific to this Honda. It's just easier if I got the caliper out of the way and the brake line mount, and then was able to get the axle out much more easily around the wishbone style suspension. So you can just see here, taking the wheel off, take the axle nut off. Again, this one wasn't peened over, so both these axles were probably out at some point. But this time I used the battery operated Harbor Freight gun, a Hercules gun, and it did just fine on the axle nut, which was pretty impressive. Now I'm basically going to be removing brake caliper and the front strut rod. This has an old strut rod style that goes to the front of the chassis, to the lower control arm, so basically stabilizes that lower control arm from big impacts. And probably talking about how I always use chrome sockets on an impact gun. I've never really had a problem. I know a lot of people don't like doing that, but I've cracked a couple, and they usually just crack and have like a small split. It's never really a big issue, so I just abuse my sockets the wrong way. So there you go. You can see the suspension kind of pop up. That strut bar is out of the way now. And I think I'm probably realizing the next thing to do is split the knuckle from the upper control arm here. So I'm going to throw in a light so you guys can see what's going on. So right here, I'm just gonna push the axle splines out of the hub right here. So I've pushed the outer axle splines out of the hub, and I've kind of freed it up on the just behind the brake rotor there. And after that, I'm gonna go grab a pry bar, and we're just gonna give the inner axle boot just right against the transmission, just a little kick with the pry bar, and you just kind of give it a good jolt, and it's just gonna pop it right out. So got the outer out already, and we're gonna take the brake caliper off real quick, just because that's kind of restricting the pathway to get the axle off. So here's where I've got Big Red. Just give it a little kick right there, and the axle splines slip right out of the transmission, and I can just kind of move the whole axle out. And easy peasy. Now I just got to get it around the front connecting rod, or the stabilizer rod from the chassis to the control arm. And driver's side axle is pretty much out. There we go. So front wheel drive cars, I don't know if you guys are super familiar, but there's usually, just due to the configuration of the transmission and the engine going transverse across the front of the car, the driver's side, well, whatever side the transmission is on has a short axle, and whatever side the engine side is usually has a long axle like that, or an axle with a jack shaft connection. So that's why that axle is pretty long, and then the other side's fairly short. So what I need to do here is put everything back together so that when I set the car back down, I can use the brakes and have functioning steering.
Could be one of those days. Oh my god, is that a 10? Start with the negative unless you want to have some sparks. That way, when you go to the positive, you ground the wrench against something, it won't actually spark. Okay, battery tray, cool. Okay, let's take the intake out. So, oh my god, it's one of those days. just take that off there. There's probably a clamp somewhere. I would assume. Okay. That off for now. Car is in surprisingly good condition. Alright, other clamps. If you ever watched the AWD Cars channel, he is hilarious about properly taking off hoses and then cutting them. It's definitely a good laugh. Okay. I think, let's see, how would I do it if I was a Honda engineer? I would put a bolt inside the airbox, right? Why would you ever want to be easy? Okay. Air filter's in alright condition. I never need that again. Aha! You probably saw this while I was doing it. I didn't see it. Okay. Okay. See that? Air filter's out. Wow. This is kind of cool. They've got like this kind of OEM cold air style intake. That's pretty nifty for a 20-some-year-old car, 35-year-old car. Okay. I don't think we need to go too much harder on the throttle body for now. We'll leave most of that intact because I'm going to sell this motor. But there's a few more hoses, so I'm just gonna unplug you so you can come with me. There we go. So from this side, we've got some kind of vacuum hose again. This might be just a breather. When you do this, especially with old hoses, grab the hose lightly. Rotate it first, if you can. See that? Now that I rotated it, it'll just slide right off. Look at that. Interesting. That is a fuel hose. Is that really how this thing gets fuel? So much more simple than all the high pressure fill systems we have these days. Okay, not like it's gonna be hard to know, but we'll mark it anyways. Fuel. Okay. We got like a breather into the headers. There's probably some valve here for some shit that I don't really know. Actually, don't even need to mess with that because that's going to stay with the car. We get a check valve here that attaches to the back of the exhaust manifold. So we'll just leave that intact and take take this clamp off. Same thing, we're just going to try and rotate the hose. There we go. And then we'll just pull it off. Of course, it depends on the auto manufacturer and the quality of the hose that they use. Some of them are super nice and they'll just never get brittle and break. And some of them will just break no matter what you do. You look at it funny, it'll break. Okay, there we go. Okay, these are just like things that are going to stay with the car or with the motor when we take it out. I believe this is the actual throttle cable right here. Same thing, I think we'll keep the throttle cable with the car and not the motor. I suppose if we were doing this at a junkyard, it'd just be snip snip. Okay. Okay, we'll take the ground off while we're at it. Just a little ground. You know, if someone buys this motor too, we'll leave them with this nice little acorn bolt so that they can have some of the original bits here. Okay, I'll get that out of the way.
We're just gonna pull the hood off here. Pretty simple, just 4 small fasteners, and try not to drop it. And then that'll give us a lot more access for getting the wire harness out and the radiator and AC lines. kind of fast forwarded this part here, but basically we're just pulling all the wire harness connections out, and that's kind of wrapped on both passenger and driver side of the car. So essentially we're going to take it from the driver's side underneath the headers near the intake manifold, and then out the passenger side of the car eventually. And then once the wire harness is out, basically it's AC lines, radiator, and then motor. Okay, we're just gonna pull out the fan real quick here, and then once the fan's out, we can move on to pulling the radiator out. There we go. Okay, leave this ground in place. Okay, there we go. Probably still good. Okay, now there's one line to the condenser here, so we can just take this thing off, bring it over here. So we're gonna
just hold this right there, and then we're gonna, there we go. Let's take that off. Okay. Okay. This connector is very broken. There we go. May need a new connector for that in the future. Some garbage. Ancient garbage. Okay. We get this line, which we can kind of just leave out here. We'll get this soft line to the compressor off. We'll get the two soft lines to the compressor off. Those look like 12s. But this trans bolt we'll use later. Okay. Okay. So we got this other condenser line. Oh, come on. It's too much extension. Too much for that little quarter drive. And we can break it with the big boy. There we go. Okay. Put that screw back in here. Okay. So that line is good. I think we'll, maybe loosen that guy up. I'm just taking these lines out so we don't damage them, so we can hopefully reuse this later, because this condenser core is really nicely fit to the car, so it'd be nice to keep it. Okay. So we're gonna take, I think, the rear motor mount off. Well, okay. We deal with this. I have no fucking clue what this is. Goes back there to the throttle body. I don't know if you can see that, but we're just gonna zip it off and hope that it's not like super messy. So yeah, I think that's the goal. Looks like a 17-ish. So we'll do that real quick. One of these. One of these. Oh, there's definitely fuel coming out of it. There's some kind of fuel, maybe pressure regulator or something like that. That can all stay. Okay, I think that's the last thing that's tying this thing down. So, we're gonna do this rear motor mount because I think that's gonna be the worst. I'll need another 17 for that, or 19, something like that. One of the two. That's 17. Okay. So that needs to come towards us. Got this little breaker bar. It's not really breaker bar. Works great though. It's just the jack handle. Okay. Are we spinning both sides? I don't know if you guys saw that. Nope. Appears to be a weld nut on that side. Okay, so that's loose. We're gonna back this guy out. Oh, the other thing I forgot back there is a clutch master. It's back down here, like way in the back. So I'm not sure exactly how to get that out, but we'll take this bolt out. We'll take the whole motor mount off. There's like a big motor mount plate here, just because we don't need the front or the rear motor mount. We'll just use the two to hold the motor up. Sometimes if these motor mounts get really tight, you can put a piece of wood under and jack up a little bit on the pan just to put a little relief on, but not too much. But this one's coming out nice and easy. That's funny. Big spacer on this thing. I'll show you guys in a sec. Look at that. Big old spacer. But that's good. We could probably use this bolt right in here. Yep. Cool. Okay, so there's 3 17s on the top of the trans, so we'll pull those off real quick. I'm just gonna zip those out with this guy and the extension. Okay. Let me grab that later. And 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, here's that rear motor mount. Well, there's nothing holding the rear of the motor in anymore. The slave is right here. Kind of interesting looking. I'm not totally sure how this comes apart. There's like a 10mm keeper here. We may just zip that out and see if it does anything.
spoiler alert, it doesn't. I take the keeper out here. It's just a little
Let's
10
pull the
millimeter,
front motor mount.
And there's a wire form retainer for the speedo cable that I couldn't
Get
like
you
really
over
see from this
here.
position, so basically just yank on it for a long time, which I'm just gonna fast forward through
Okay,
right
front
now.
motor mount, same
And
thing.
it pops up, and the wire form was fine, but it doesn't move in anyways. So that's coming through the firewall, so that's just gonna stay in the car. So I'm just gonna cut here.
Kind of see the motor tilting a little bit. Okay. Let's, as you don't have any context, it's about 25 degrees out and a little too hot in here. I'm sorry, it's kind of a dick thing to say. One thing is, I really appreciate having this space to work in. Something I always wanted as a kid and worked really hard to have as an old guy. Okay, at the hoist in place, still both left, right. Motor mounts are in, so we are going to get those out. Just put a little bit of pressure on the motor. So I guess we'll start with this guy. Guess we can try that. Holy shit. It was on there. Okay, got that motor mount out of the way. I don't know if their procedure at Honda was to take the trans off before taking this thing out, but holy hell. They make you work for it. I can't imagine that that was the deal, but I think I've got it like pitched a little bit towards passenger to get it around this mount. And we'll just see if you can keep coming up without hitting anything.
So I forgot to mention that my jack has been kind of sitting in the driveway and leaking hydraulic fluid, and I didn't fill it up before this. Basically, just about to find out here that
Okay.
it doesn't quite go high enough.
Not
to
the
create
ideal way
a
to do it, but
front cross member on the frame, so
barely.
I'm basically
Okay, thought I'd take a second to
sit on the
refilm
frame
this
to
outro.
get it the inch it needs
I
to come down so
got
the
a
jack
new
can
mic.
pass the
It's
motor
the
by.
DJI mic,
Whoops.
so I think the sound's gonna be a lot better, especially if Carter's helping me on the car. We can do like dual audio without it sounding like total shit. So, got the motor out. It's on a crate. Anyone wants to buy this, it'll be up for sale. I'll post some links here to eBay, hopefully. And I just wanted to like thank everyone for checking this video out, coming to the channel. If you have any comments, leave whatever you want, good, bad, like, I don't care. I'd like the feedback, and if you liked it, great. And if you didn't, maybe I can get some better equipment or better filming assistance to help make it better in the future. But this is gonna be a super fun build, and I'm really excited. We've got the TSX motor. Next film will be probably getting the motor mounts in the correct place and welded, and the motor kind of like in situ, I guess. And yeah, you know, remember that I'm doing all the editing, filming work, unless Carter's helping me, so it's just slow. But yeah, you know, another thing too is we got a lot of inspiration over the years from people like David Freiberger, Mike Finnegan, Tony Angelo, Steve Dulcich, Russ Brothers guys up in Canada, Dirt Every Day, tons of people. So I'm gonna try and link as many of those people as I can, because you know, your watches on their YouTube channels and subscribes all helps them. Like I said, if you like it, share this channel, and hopefully you enjoy the build, and the end result's gonna be pretty sweet. So thanks for watching.